Lesson 3, Life in the Middle Ages. During the Middle Ages, Christianity was an important part of daily life. So it wasn't just something they maybe went to church on Sundays. It was integrated in everything they did with their lives. So what they would do is they would build these beautiful, magnificent cathedrals with these pretty stained glass windows, and this became a major focus of medieval life. So you can still go back to Europe and see these huge cathedrals all over Europe. Those were built during the Middle Ages. So here is actually one in England, and you can see the stained glass right along here. You can see all the sculpting right here. Here's also another one in France, all the stained glass work. Some men and women would devote their lives to religion and would become monks and nuns. And so a man, if he devoted his life, he would be known as a monk. If a woman devoted her life, she would be a nun. And monks and nuns could not marry, could not have a family. They would live together in a monastery. So that's our next one. So both monasteries, which is where the monks would live, and then convents, which is where the nuns would live, would serve people. Their whole life would be about serving the Lord and serving people. So serves as center of religion and education. They also cultivated crops and helped the poor. So this is actually a monastery in Spain. So they would live in here, they would work in here. Sometimes they would be translating the Bible, they would be serving the poor. Also, we just learned that they would grow crops. Feudalism was a political, social, and economic system that began in the 800s. It provided the needed protection for the people. So feudalism we're going to talk about a little more. So feudalism would be like a triangle. At the top you would have the monarch, which is going to take care of everyone. It's going to be in charge of everyone. So that would be a king or a queen, and they would rule everyone. And right below the monarch you would have lords, and lords would be in charge of the land. So the king or the queen would appoint these lords land, and they would be in charge of maintaining this land, maintaining the people that live there, taxing the people, enforcing the laws, and protecting the people that lived in this land. Then next, a little lower down on the pyramid, you would have knights. Knights were warriors who were trained to fight on horseback. That's kind of how they're different from maybe some people we've learned about before, is they were trained to fight on horseback. And then the lowest ring of the ladder would be serfs or peasants, and these are people who lived on the land and farmed it. They were not wealthy, they were poor, but they would be the ones who actually took care of the land that the lords owned. The manor system, so we just talked about feudalism. This would be the manor system that they kind of worked under. This manor system was very common from about 700 to 1200. It was a way to manage feudal lands, and it had 4 different parts. So first, you would have the manor house and village. So if you take a look right here at this picture, you can see right here, this is probably where the lord would live. And then you would have all the serfs and the peasants that worked there. They might live in houses like these, okay, right here. And then you would have farmland, which is really important. So you can see right below here the farmland. This is what the peasants would work. You would have some meadows, land as well, and you would have wasteland. Now, usually in a manor system, you would have a cathedral or a church there that everyone would go worship. And then sometimes you would have these small villages as well. So here's a closer picture. It's the church. This would be like a blacksmith or where they would harvest wheat. This is where they would farm. And then this would kind of be the meadowland where like animals would graze and things like that. And then also where the peasants would live. With the surplus of crops from the manor system, towns and cities began to grow. So they started to make more food than they needed, and this kind of helped increase the town's size. So once these cities began to grow, guilds formed. So this is what a guild is. Bought large quantities of food cheaply. So these guilds would take all that extra food they didn't need and they'd buy it at a really cheap cost. And then they would guarantee people a good price for the food. So say people that did not live in this manor system, they would come get food for a good price. And then they controlled quantity and quality of production, so they were kind of in charge of that. And they protected the town's merchants from competition outside the town. So say you were a blacksmith, and they would make sure that no other blacksmith would come in and sell things for a cheaper price, so they would put you out of business. They would protect you of that. So each guild had a different symbol, and here are some of the different symbols they had. Medieval women had few rights, so very similar from the other cultures we've been studying. They also had few opportunities to make decisions about their lives. Their lives were very planned out for them by either their father or their husband. And that is the end of Lesson 3 notes.